The Alex Jones Show, because there is a war on for your mind.
So, they have the heads of operations for Google, Twitter, and Facebook in the House Intelligence Committee last week. And Congressman Wigley says InfoWars puts out fake news about election theft. They're now admitting that Hillary stole the nomination from Sanders, something we broke. They're now admitting 5.7 million illegals voted, not the 3.3 like Trump was saying. Harvard now is confirmed. But then they go into saying that de Blasio hasn't been coddling terrorists, or that imams didn't warn de Blasio the attack was coming. And you've got the tech heads saying, we want you to have a good user experience. That's what we're going to censor. They don't even say we're fake. They just say, oh, we want you to have a good experience and live in a cult and live in La La Land. And then later they say, we're working on AI to just automate and shut down InfoWars. Here it is.
Shouldn't be the first tweet you see anymore. It should be a USA article the last time I checked.
But USA, you saw this.
USA Today. At lunch I did, yeah. And I also saw the system correct it.
Can you give me a really good guess on how long it was top?
We can follow up with you and your staff on that, and I don't have the stat in front of me, so I don't know. But we're, like we said earlier, trying to balance, free speech with making the information you see on the system, especially around trends that we direct.
Trends that they direct. Now let's go to the Republican Congressman, Chris Stewart of Utah, came to the defense of InfoWars and free speech. Here it is.
We have used the term fake news. It's been used pervasively in this hearing. And we all recognize that fake news is in the eye of the beholder many times. There are some things that are reported that are demonstrably untrue. But the vast majority of it is some spectrum there of opinion and reality. And I'll use Mr. Quigley's example. He said, for example, and as I best recall, Amon warns de Blasio. He ignored it because he was too busy criticizing Trump. Well, there's an element of both in there. Perhaps Amon did warn de Blasio. We don't know that yet.
He did.
And whether he was too busy criticizing Trump to some degree is a matter of opinion. Now, to my friend Mr. Quigley, and I don't mean this as a criticism, I mean to him, that's fake news. Someone else read that, and they see legitimate critique in there. How in the world do you intend to identify fake news without weaponizing this in the political realm? Because, as I said, there is an enormous degree of opinion included in almost every bit of that. And if you're viewed as being political in this, and it's my fear that you will be, regardless of what you do, if you're viewed as being political, then it's not monitoring fake news, it's weaponizing it and it's editorializing it. And the best example of that is simply the fact-checking. Fact-checking is as and opinionated many times as anything else that we see. And I've got 24 seconds, you can't answer that, so I'm going to express my fear of it. But if you have a very quick response, I'd be interested in what that might be. I don't blame you for remaining silent.
We're going to come back with that.
You understand?
So, last week they had the House Intelligence Committee hearings where the tech giants even had to admit that actually the Russian bots were a bunch of different companies, and a lot of them were leftist groups that were actually anti-Trump. The others were neutral and were only trying to get traffic to their news stories. They were just inflammatory. And they were less than 1% of the entire aggregate of traffic during the election. But then I learned yesterday that during the hearings, there was a story on Infowars.com, they came out and said that we made up a fake news story that a prominent imam had warned de Blasio that radical Islamicists and ISIS were planning truck attacks. Well, ISIS put out videos a year ago. They've been doing it all over the world. And there's the article they say is fake news. I warned de Blasio about New York City terror, but he was too busy bashing Trump. They have the heads of the tech companies on, and they say, sir, yeah, we're working on censoring InfoWars. We saw that fake story. We had our artificial, computer system shut it down. And you can go watch the whole hearing. They talk about AI in the future, controlling it. Here's the story video. Dem lawmaker demands Twitter censor InfoWars. But then the Republican, I'm going to play this clip and go to our guest. It all ties together. Chris Stewart of Utah says, well, that's opinion on whether or not this imam warned him. That's not fake news. But it's not even that. This imam is famous. He's been all over Fox News. We've already covered that in detail, warning that this attack was coming. Imam Muhammad Tawahidi, he's famous. He goes to the mosque. He gives examples of what are being preached. Of course everybody said truck attacks are coming to NYC. Look at what's happened in Paris and Nice and Israel and Russia. I mean, they call it fake news to say we're letting people in that are going to attack us when this guy was let in by Obama on one of these visa programs that Trump's trying to kill. And they call that fake news. Incredible. So, again, here's the clip of the congressman, then we're going to go to our guest. And this all ties into the war on Trump, the war on America that's so desperate by the deep state. But here is the congressman checking their propaganda.
We have used the term fake news. It's been used pervasively in this hearing. And we all recognize that fake news is in the eye of the beholder many times. There are some things that are reported that are demonstrably untrue. But the vast majority of it is some spectrum there of opinion and reality. And I'll use Mr. Quigley's example. He said, for example, and as I best recall, Amon warns de Blasio. He ignored it because he was too busy criticizing Trump. Well, there's an element of both in there. Perhaps Amon did warn de Blasio. We don't know that yet. And whether he was too busy criticizing Trump to some degree is a matter of opinion. Now, to my friend, Mr. Quigley, and I don't mean this as a criticism, I mean to him, that's fake news. Someone else read that, and they see legitimate critique in there. How in the world do you intend to identify fake news without weaponizing this in the political realm? Because, as I said, there is an enormous degree of opinion included in almost every bit of that. And if you're viewed as being political in this, and it's my fear that you will be, regardless of what you do. And they are. If you're viewed as being political, then it's not monitoring fake news, it's weaponizing it, and it's editorializing it. And the best example of that is simply the fact-checking. Fact-checking is as an opinionated many times as anything else that we see. And I've got 24 seconds. You can't answer that, so I'm going to express my fear of it. But if you have a very quick response, I'd be interested in what that might be. I don't blame you for remaining silent. You understand, though, why we're concerned about that and the challenge, and we want to help you on that, but we live in a political world already. I hope we make it less political. They need to be busted up. They're antitrust. Like Keith Olbermann threatened to attack and kill everybody, but if you call somebody a liar, they shut you down if you're a conservative, a Christian, a libertarian. Joining us is Edward Klein, a distinguished journalist, a best-selling author. I'm not going to go over his whole background with the New York Daily News and you name it. He's, of course, been with the Times as well. He's written many articles for Vanity Fair, a lot of other publications. EdwardKlein.com is his website. He's got the new book out, All Out War, The Plot to Destroy Trump. And that's what it is. It's all-out war. I've never seen such deception, such viciousness, and it's only getting more insane as it appears they're going to lose. But that's the perfect title. It's true. How is this all-out war, and where does it end? #1 New York Times bestselling author, Ed Klein.
Alex, it all began on a specific date. We can actually put a date on it. December 16, 2016, 6 weeks after Donald Trump won the election, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and their consigliere, Valerie Jarrett, invite Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor, to dinner in the White House. And Susan Rice convinces the president, Obama at that time, to unmask the names of Donald Trump associates who were inadvertently picked up in NSA intercepts, unmask their names so that they became public, distribute them widely through the intelligence community among hundreds, if not thousands of people, and make sure they're leaked to the press. And that's where this cockamamie story, this false narrative, as they call it, of collusion began, right in the Obama White House.
And now it's thousands of times the size of Watergate. They've all lied to Congress. They've lied to the people. It's illegal. We found out the Democrats are up to their eyeballs with the Russians. everything they said Trump did, they've done. The only guy, I guess, not in bed with the Russians is Trump. No wonder they're fighting so hard, because they're fighting for their lives.
Well, they are fighting for their lives. And you know, we have in this new book that I've written, All Out War, an FBI report that confirms what I think you and a lot of other people have been saying for quite a while, which is that there is a deep state, and that these rogue elements inside the permanent bureaucracy of the government are doing everything they can to sabotage Donald Trump's agenda and the agenda, in my view, of the American people. That these deep state people, these permanent employees who side with Clinton and Obama, are deleting files from computers, losing files, slow walking regulations, and leaking to the press, and doing everything they can to undo this effort on the part of the president to make America great again.
What's their next move? I mean, it appears they're losing. It appears that Robert Mueller's the one that ought to be indicted for Russia ties, with handing uranium off on tarmacs to the FSB, Hillary getting all this money. This is beyond any Tom Clancy novel.
It really is. You can't make this stuff up, as you just said. Well, you know, one of the things in this new book, All Out War, the plot to destroy Trump, that I have put into the book, I've reproduced not one, but two secret FBI reports, one on the deep state, which we've just talked about, and another on the connection between the radical left-wing violent groups like Antifa and others that are spread throughout college communities in the United States, the connection between these left-wing groups, the violent left-wing groups, and the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. And FBI agents went to Europe and actually infiltrated and watched and recorded these meetings that took place in Europe and in Syria between these Americans who are getting instructions on how to make bombs, how to deal with toxic chemicals, use toxic chemicals as weapons. The very scary stuff. And the FBI says in this secret report that I've printed, this is the greatest challenge to law enforcement since the 1970s in the weather underground.
I totally agree. I can't wait to read the book, because just reading the synopsis, I've learned some things and then gone and looked them up, and they were actually true. I didn't even know that there's documents where the left even sees ISIS as their army, but I guess if you watch the news, they see radical Islam as their army, and it just shows that they've radicalized to the point of being unrecognizable from the Democratic Party of just 10 years ago. I want to ask you where you think all this is going and some of the other big secrets that are in your book. It's Edward Klein, edwardklein.com, All Out War, the plot to destroy Trump. All right, folks, Alex Jones here, back live. One more segment, and then I'm going to open the phones up after our guest leaves us for the callers and cover a bunch of other news that's unfolding. All Out War, the plot to destroy Trump. Ed Klein's new book, set to be a bestseller, undoubtedly. You know, Stephen Bannon understands it's total war. I point out it's an info war. But I can't go out on the streets now in San Francisco or Austin or Seattle without people running up, throwing coffee at me, attacking me. They celebrate when there's Islamic attacks. They celebrate when churches get attacked. The left celebrates when bombs go off in Israel. I mean, you see it now. And they've gone from just tacitly covering it up to promoting it. And then when we point out how they're promoting it, they go, oh, no, we're not. That's fake news. So there's been a total radicalization. Why do you have the term all-out war? And flesh out what's in the book, because people may think they know it all. They don't. This is something everybody needs to read to understand, because people have to know what they're in. If you're just a normal conservative or Christian or libertarian or just a common sense person, you're not a public figure. You don't know what Donald Trump goes through. You don't know what I go through. And I'm not trying to say I go through anything what his family does. They're vicious. They're bullies. They're frothing. I mean, I've seen old film reels of people getting beat up in communist countries if they weren't communist, or in Nazi Germany if they were, you know, trade unionists or Jewish, and, you know, hitting families, slapping them in the head. I'm not trying to compare what has happened to me to that bad, but it's approaching 1934, 1935 Germany in the way conservatives and people are being treated, in my experience, Ed Klein.
You're so right about that, Alex. You know, I live here in New York City, and many, many years ago, I was an editor at the New York Times when the Times was still a straight newspaper, which of course it hasn't been for a long time. And all my friends here in New York, 90% of whom are liberals, have gone so far as to not only shun me, but if they meet me in a restaurant or on the street, they don't even acknowledge me. They won't even say hello to me. I have friends of decades standing, they were friends, who tell me that they don't want to have anything more to do with me. It's like the religious wars in the 17th century when people burned each other at the stakes because of their religious differences. Here in this country, we're having the same kind of religious war, if you will, between progressives on the left, those so-called progressives, and conservatives like you and me on the right. What's going to happen if in 2018, which is just around the corner, of course, the Democrats get control of the House of Representatives? That's what this whole war against Trump is aimed at, getting control of the House of Representatives so that the first thing they will do is put forth impeachment proceedings against this president.
And it's just crazy to see all the footage of them beating up reporters. Antifa will just attack even mainstream news, police. They're just frothing and so filled with hate. Do you think they're going to get more degenerate, more insane before they get better? Or as a historian and a smart guy, where do you see this going?
I think it's going to get a lot worse because we're moving into the midterm elections when so much is at stake. I guess you can hear in the background the typical New York sounds of sirens. Those are generally ambulances, not police, but sometimes they're police.
Sure.
And come 2018, the Democrats are going to be desperate to get control of the House of Representatives and the Senate. What will that mean in terms of this war that we're talking about, this bitter, underhanded lies and deceit that we see on the left? It's going to get a lot worse. In fact, I believe that you're going to see a lot more violence on the left because, as you know, these groups like Antifa and other violent groups say that they like violence. They even consider themselves and proud of the fact that they're communists and they're socialists, and they say violence is a good thing. It's the only way they say the left can get back.
And that's the grassroots. Then you've got the big telecoms and the big tech companies openly admitting they're censoring libertarians, conservatives. They want to take the president's Twitter away. It's just open authoritarian censorship, really trying to organize itself, but they're losing every special election. Looks like they'll lose the Virginia governorship. And as you said, that just makes them get more radicalized and drives people away from them. But they don't ever learn. They just get worse.
Well, you could argue, if I can talk to you above this noise outside.
Oh, it's fine. It adds to the atmosphere.
Okay. You could argue that the further left and nutty they get, the more like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and the Antifa group they get, the better in some ways it will be for conservatives, because you're so right. Between the left coast and the right coast of this country, the so-called parenthesis around the real America, real Americans don't buy this left-wing stuff. You know that. So
you're a guy that's well known for being able to predict a lot of things that are unfolding. I know we're not looking at a crystal ball here, but barring assassination, the economy's coming back. People are really turning against the controlled left. I just see Trump being a very successful president, one of the most successful ever. Globally, globalism and authoritarian leftist garbage is in trouble. I mean, can't they see the massive trend?
I don't see. They don't want to see this massive trend. We're now at, 3.1% growth in this country,
yes,
which is a whole at least percentage point ahead of Obama, and we're probably going to do a lot better. We've stopped 70% of the illegal crossings in the southern border. We're getting to be energy independent. Thank you, Donald Trump. And now he's on this Asian tour, which if you look at the mainstream media, they're almost ignoring, because they can see that he and America are more respected today in Asia than they ever were in the 8 years of Barack Obama.
And the Congressional Budget Office predicts that if we get the House tax cut combined with this growth rate, we're looking at a 7.1 growth rate within 2 years. I mean, they are, and then they're fighting tooth and nail openly to stop it, calling it a nightmare.
And what could be better, if I may just digress for a second, than a 5%, 6%, 7% growth rate for the minorities in this country? It will be the average everyday American who will benefit from this growth rate. They'll get good paying jobs, they'll get raises, they'll be able to reinstate what we've lost, the American dream, which is that our kids and our grandkids can look forward to living an even better life than we do.
Well, please come back again as this all unfolds. I can't wait to read the book. I've ordered one. Of course, it's All Out War, the plot to destroy Trump. You're dead on, and I know I'm going to learn a lot. So thank you for being a watchman on the wall, and have a good week coming up.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you. Folks, we are in deep, deep trouble. Good things are happening, but bad things are happening, and I want to be confident in all this. But at the same time, we've got to know they are getting more and more violent, more and more deranged, and I'm here to tell you. The left has talked about doing false flags. They've gotten smart, like Vegas or like what we saw here in Texas. A pedophile, atheist, Christian hater who beats up his family. And these are all about being selfish pigs. And it's always the same MO of all these people. And it happened again. And then they blame us, the Second Amendment. They blame the NRA. And it turns out it's an NRA trainer who took the scumbag out. We're going to take your phone calls and a lot more coming up in the next segment. 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-ALEX. This is the Info War. Please spread the links because there is an all-out war against this republic. Stay with us. You want to talk about sickening projection? There's a Newsweek article out attacking myself, Cernovich, everybody else, saying, why is the right obsessed with pedophilia? Newsweek, of course, is on the verge of going bankrupt. Just laid off half their people because they're fake news. They're about as bad as it gets. I'm obsessed with Americana. And we are exposing the pedophile rings in Hollywood and D.C. You know, like the deputy pope. The deputy pope who just got arrested for reportedly corralling over 100 kids for sex. And all the underage stuff with Kevin Spacey and the rest of it. And then Newsweek brings up Comet Ping Pong Pizza again, that Time Magazine, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, all put on the radar during the Podesta emails that are very creepy, had nothing to do with Comet Ping Pong. The media focused on it, where Podesta did go and eat some, and his brother, and had fundraisers, made it all about that, put info out in the press, the media made it the spotlight, to then say there's no such thing as pedophilia in the world, basically. So it was a false flag, a controlled demolition, a diversion from all of Jerry Epstein's behavior, and Weiner, who just went to prison yesterday to serve out his sentence for going after an underage girl, and all the rest of it, and Nickelodeon and the media sexualizing children, and all the admissions. Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, NAMBLA, all over the place trying to get pedophilia legalized. The schools sexualizing children. And then they hang their whole hat on Pizzagate. The FBI has manuals about pizza used as codes and Italian food used in codes by pedophiles. Cheese pizza means child pornography. And it was all in there about $65,000 of succulent hot dogs. And, oh, these are the best. Well, they weren't good that last time, but this time they'll be good. And they'll be brown sauce. Well, I don't want too many nuts on the sauce. Are these nuts really good? And we'll have the kids for your pleasure in the hot tub. Well, are the kids going to be fun? Well, yeah, they're still kids, though. I mean, we'll have blood and semen for you in the ritual for you to drink. And it's an Aleister Crowley high priestess. I mean, and so that's all going on. And then all of a sudden, the mainstream media goes, look at Comet Ping Pong Pizza. And I go to Cancun for a week with my family, and I see us reporting on it. And I watch a bunch of it, and I go, a lot of that really sounds crazy and But everything about it, I go, I think this is a setup by the media focusing on, but there's not a basement in that place. And I said, we'll see. And I even had a few crew members kind of, Alex, I can't believe you're covering up. And I said, listen, every GD one of these is going down. And I said, I know there's people there on video at the pizza place talking about how they like kids at the open mic. I go, whatever. That's some rock band that was there. The real stuff is the sex trafficking out of Haiti and the AP reports and all this other stuff. The media is wanting us, like a mockingbird, to act like its wings broken to get you away from its nest. And of course, I was proven right again. Then I do the right thing and say, yes, that was wrong info. We report other people's reports, and the media makes it like I made everything up and that I'm this horrible person when I'm the one that caught it and cleaned it up. No good deed goes unpunished. And then now I get to see the media run with this same thing, how Jones and everybody made this up and it doesn't exist. Very shameful of Newsweek. New lows for you guys. And there's record busted pedophiles all over the country and record numbers of people getting caught. And the sex trafficking and Hollywood's going down and all of it. So good luck, Newsweek. Good luck being apologists for what's going on. It's simply amazing. And they never tell you Pizzagate is about code words and FBI manuals. It's always about comic ping pong, a pizza place. They semantically manipulate the public and then basically use their own people as scapegoats who aren't involved in this behavior. Well, there's no evidence to that fact. But Podesta constantly tweets out that I should eat crap and that I'm pathetic and ha when he's the one in deep trouble. Listen, I've never retracted anything I said about Podesta and the emails about spirit cooking and we'll have the blood and semen ready. WikiLeaks put all that out. That's real, folks. And what do you do when you're caught with the Russians? You call the enemy Russians. What do you do when there's all these thousands of emails about, we'll be at the farmhouse for the adult party, 3 children, these ages, 6, 7, and 9 will be delivered to the hot tub. The pool is not heated, but the hot tub is. They will be in the hot tub waiting for you. Well, I can't wait. That's what old Podesta wants to get the depositions on that one. What the hell's going on with the hot tub and the kids waiting there for your entertainment? That's the quote. And then Podesta's brother did a spread in 2007 in the Washington Post about his radical, dangerous art, that's the quotes, with images of naked children that I won't even show on air. Because they could selectively enforce and put me in jail for pedophilia, folks. We're talking 2-year-olds. Look at this. The plan to heat the pool so a swim is possible. Bonnie will Uber service to transport Ruby Emerson. Says 9 and 7. So you'll have some further entertainment and they will be in the pool for sure. I mean, it just goes on, man. And all we said is, what is this? And you're hanging around with Epstein, and Bill Clinton's on the plane with Epstein, and so is this creature, Harvey Weinstein, and they've got an island where they take little kids. I mean, this is all confirmed, and you think you're going to divert us with the pizza place. No, you're not. There you go. Kevin Spacey went on that airplane, too. He likes to have fun. His dad was a, quote, devil-worshipping Nazi that raped him and his brothers and sisters. It's all come out. And I told you, I said, people like Spacey were used to get kids when he was a kid. Because it's always the same. They use well-spoken, good-looking kids as the lure, just like an anglerfish does. Why does he play a good psychopath? Because he is a psychopath. So that's all coming up. I'm going to come back and go to your phone calls, though. I've got a lot of other news to hit. But that's why they're coming after us, folks, because, and I'm not at liberty to get into a lot of it this time. I just want everybody to understand, if you want to see us stand against the enemy, like a lighthouse in a storm, and prevail. Pray for us, number one. Spread the videos and the articles, number two, because that's the info war. That's critical. But number three, financially commit to go to InfoWarsStore.com and sign up for DNA Force for you and your family. Nothing's going to clean out your cells in your body. There's no antioxidant even close to it that protects your telomeres. Read the studies for yourself. The PQQ, the CoQ10, the resveratrol, all of it. What a product. 25% off, even though it's been sold out almost 4 months. Back in stock, InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. We've got a bunch of stuff that has sold out. In fact, Tim Frugé brought me all the specials that aren't on anymore, and I walked out of his office and laid them in my bathroom. I think I left them, or on the table outside my office. Because a bunch of stuff is sold out. The Winter Sun, a bunch of other stuff we've had to stop the sales on. But we do have the DNA Force, the Biome Defense. Secret 12 is still on sale, and a lot of other great products. But just commit, sign up for auto ship, get an additional 10% off. And then you can cancel anytime, but that way you don't forget each month to get the product you need, or every 2 months. You just set it with one click and then cancel whenever you want. Get 10% off. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, high-quality essential oils, T-shirts, books, ball caps, water filtration, non-GMO heirloom seeds. Do your Christmas shopping there. Whatever you do, fund the info war, because we're fighting for you. We're fighting for ourselves. We're in this all together, and I'm committed to give you everything I got. We're not playing tiddlywinks, ladies and gentlemen. We're on to your phone calls right now. Tom in London, Mark in Oregon, Jack in Florida, Alyssa in Oregon, Tal in South Carolina, and many others. I see the phone lines are loaded. When you hear somebody hang up, that's your chance to call in, 877-789-2539. I want to thank you all for your support. I want to thank all of our affiliates. Please remember to support them. And I want to thank the amazing crew surrounding me here in this great news center we've built, and just all my family and everybody else for what they put up with. But they understand we're up against bullies. And so everybody's fighting harder and stronger and more focused than ever. And as we begin to see victory, and as we find our will again, the enemy really tries to put their fangs out and takes the mask off. And boy, didn't it just confirm everything we knew? And it doesn't just make you 100% absolutely commit to defeating these people. They think their intimidation works on us. They're going to find out real good. We're going to find out what we're made of and what they're made of. We're going to get them off the backs of our children, because that's who they're obsessed with. They want to mentally screw them up. They want to have sex with them. They want to brainwash them and turn them into them. Evil targets the youth. So yeah, Newsweek, we're obsessed with exposing pedophilia, and we're being proven right. So you keep trying to act like it isn't going on, as all around people get caught running child kidnapping rings and caught with dead children and caught in cages, and as the deputy pope and all the Hollywood people get busted, you keep telling everybody it didn't exist. Hell, why don't you get in a time machine and go back and say Hitler didn't exist, or Stalin, or Mao Zedong, you jerks. But you don't control reality anymore. You think we're 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You still think you got your thumb on America or the world. Well, guess what? You don't, scumbags. So all that's left at places like Newsweek's the scum of the earth. That's why they had a 50% layoff this month of what was left. Is the scum of the scum that'll do whatever they're told. Well, good. Just send your race to the bottom even faster, because mentally ill people like you don't ever know when to give up, do you? Coming up, CNN directed employees to discredit Donna Brazile. Wow, what a surprise. Saudi Arabia calls missile launch an act of war by Iran. We got the president over there in Asia. We'll break that down. They're mounting fighter jets with pulse laser particle beam weapon systems. Told you they had that 20-something years ago. It's been declassified longer than that, but now it's powerful weapons. The latest on the Texas massacre and so much more. It's all coming up. Oh, and one more thing before I go to your calls. I'll do it into the next hour, but I'm going to start taking some right now from London. Let's play that clip I mentioned earlier. I forgot to get to. Fox, about 20 minutes ago during a break, I was getting myself a little cup of coffee here in my drudgereport.com coffee cup, because we're fans around here. And there they were announcing that hearings, they're calling Sessions in next week to grill him like he did something wrong. And he just sits there and takes it while they're all caught red-handed doing 10,000 times anything he supposedly ever did. And he just sits there and just continues. Fox News, all part of the fraud. Here, let's just go to it right now. Here it is.
Alert now, we are learning Attorney General Jeff Sessions will testify before the House Judiciary Committee next Tuesday. We're told it's part of a routine Justice Department oversight hearing, but it does come just days after Senate Democrats demanded Sessions return to Capitol Hill to clarify his statements on Russia. Democrats on the House panel not wasting any time after the announcement, issuing a press release with the title that they're putting Sessions, quote, on notice, saying they want answers after new documents revealed that a former Trump campaign advisor pushed to set up a meeting between then-candidate Donald Trump and Russia.
Please. Papadopoulos, who was never even paid by the campaign, who we now know is in deep with the Democrats, kept asking for them to meet with Russians, and they said no every time. So now the big hearings are about one low-level guy who tried to get Russia meetings and was rebuffed. That'd be like saying you drove by a hooker, a street hooker, with her leg out and stopped at a stop sign that she was by. And then you drove on past, and a year later they got a video and they go, sir, you drove by a hooker and you stopped. Well, there was a stop sign. Well, we're taking your car. There it is, Sessions rejected Russia proposal by campaign advisor, which he's always talked about. And the worst they've got is at some Trump event, there was a Russian ambassador there. Oh, my God. Meanwhile, the Democrats are totally in bed with it. Here, let's continue with the show Outnumbered on Fox. Here it is.
Former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page told a House panel last week that he had informed Sessions of a trip to Russia in July of last year, but Sessions had denied misleading lawmakers that he didn't know if members of the campaign had met with Russians. Joining us now, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, a member of the House Judiciary.
So Papadopoulos did this, and Carter Page did a personal trip to Russia. I mean, and Sessions didn't know it all. That'd be like saying, you know, did the janitor that works here go visit his mommy last month? And why don't I know that if he brushed his teeth this morning and ate his Wheaties? Meanwhile, you've got Mueller killing the investigation of Iranian One, bad man on tarmacs in Moscow with weapons-grade uranium and hundreds of millions of dollars and just... I'm sorry. Tom in London. Tom, you're on the air. Thank you for calling today.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, so I've got a prediction today about Trump. I just want to establish my track record on predictions on your show. It's pretty much 100%. I mean, 2.5 years ago, I predicted Trump would win and Brexit would pass. I put bets on and so on.
I remember you called, or somebody with your similar voice.
Yeah, and you have a freakish memory, and you always remember, you know, my previous calls. So yeah.
Well, you have a distinctive voice.
And also last time I spoke to you, actually, was 3 weeks before the general election in the UK.
Aren't you the guy that also thinks I'm too hard on Islam?
Well, I think, yes, you are, but I think it's a big distraction, the Islam.
Okay, so we talked a year ago. Well, to me, if they'll bring in radical Muslims and let them kill us, it shows the globalists hate us and don't want to bring in compatible people and don't want to reform Islam. I mean, if Christians were running around doing this, I'd say don't do it. I mean, it's just out of control. But I wanted to make sure you were the same guy. Okay, so go ahead and make your new prediction.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Muslims today, but, well, I can do. Yeah, so I phoned you in May of this year. It was just before the UK general election, and I said it was going to be a hung parliament. And nobody was saying that.
You did say that.
But it was easy for me to work out because of Corbyn would have won if it wasn't for those bombings. So they had to stage those the Manchester bombings and the attacks in London in order to keep Theresa May in power. But anyway...
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's the evidence of them staging them? I mean, clearly they let the jihadis in, and then they attacked, so it's staged one way or the other because they knew who they were. Like this guy, the FBI tried to arrest him in 2015 that just attacked New York. But these are real jihadis. I get that governments order stand-downs so the terrorists can attack, but I mean...
I would suggest that
why would Theresa May, why would they bring all the jihadis in and then sit there and let them attack on top of it when that makes them unpopular. I mean, I just don't, I mean, if they're trying to prop up anti-Islamic governments, why don't they just get hardcore that's popular to begin with?
Well, the attackers are all so-called homegrown anyway. So, I mean, the bringing them in is a bit of a red herring. But I was just pointing that out because that was also a prediction.
Okay, well, you're talking about some of your predictions. So what's your next prediction? Go ahead and get it up.
Okay, so the 31st of August this year, I put a bet on that Trump would be out of office within a year. And that's what I think is going to happen. But before then, he's going to take the United States and probably the UK into an enormous war with Iran. And it's going to be Saudi Arabia and Israel, which is an incredibly dangerous axis, playing along with the Trump administration and that part of the U.S. government. And the North Korea thing is just an enormous smokescreen. Nothing's going to happen in North Korea because it's not in the establishment and globalist interest for anything to happen in North Korea.
All right, I find this intriguing. Stay there. I'm going to go to break, Tom, and I want you to come back and walk through why Trump would walk into something, how they will remove him in this scenario. Because I agree, Saudi Arabia is lining up for war with Iran. The battle lines are being drawn. Any operatives that have been working with Iran have been arrested or killed. So the world is going into a very, very crazy time. We'll be back with hour number 3 to finish up with Tom. Then all the other callers straight ahead as well. Please spread the word. Infowars.com/show. The globalists are counting on you not doing it.